Welcome to the MFA Podcast, where you'll learn what they don't teach in art school. Here, you'll get your real-life MFA, where M stands for mindset, money, manifestation, and of course, me, your host, Marina Granger, founder of the Artist Advisory, the first of its kind where we take an integrated approach to your career as an artist. With nearly 2 decades of experience working in the art world, I blend practical business guidance with powerful mindset and manifestation tools to help you build the life and legacy you have always dreamed of. Tune in and get the guidance you deserve. Hello, artists. I'm your host, Marina Granger. Welcome to the MFA Podcast. On this episode, we are going to talk about some of the questions I received from my community. Recently, I sent out an email to my mailing list and I said, hey, if you have any questions for the podcast, I'm happy to answer them. And so we have a few questions that were so great about working with galleries, what galleries are looking for, and also what to do when you're creating a whole new body of work. How do you debut it? How do you contextualize it? So we're going to go over these questions. They're so incredible. But before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to the artists in my community. You guys are doing so well. I'm seeing sales, I'm seeing exhibitions. I'm so proud of you all so much. Shout out to Erin. You know who you are. I'm so excited to see that you had a beautiful show, great sales. I am just so excited about so many of you. And specifically, I wanted to give a shout out to three specific names on this podcast, because all of them were just did so well. I was like, it was all in the course of a week that I saw my girls were on the front page of the newspaper. Like, what? It was so amazing. And so a shout out to Mariana Gomez in Colombia, who won a scholarship to the Artist Academy last year. And in learning everything she learned, she now just had a solo show. It's actually on view for a few more weeks in Colombia, in Bogota. And it's at Otros 360. And it's called Cardia. And she was on the front page of the paper with her work. It's so cool. So congratulations to you. I am so incredibly proud of you. We're going to do a spotlight on Mariana maybe today or tomorrow, maybe before or after you hear this episode, you will see it on our Instagram. And I'm so proud of you. I was literally crying when I saw this. I'm also super duper proud of Logan Kirkpatrick, who I've been working with for just a little bit. She also just recently had an artist spotlight on our Instagram. And she is wrapping up an incredible solo exhibition at a hospital, which is nearby where she lives. She actually gets treatment at this hospital, I think, once a month. And the thing is that when Logan started to work with me, she was just so not into being visible. I didn't even know what she looked like. Her camera was always off. I was so excited to see her once she had her camera off. And so now it's been a year later. She literally messaged me and she's like, Marina, my face is on the TV, right? With all the feels that comes with. And so I thought that was really amazing. I'm so proud of you for stepping out of your shell, for shining your light. So congratulations to you. Logan was on the front page of the arts and culture section of the Daily Hampshire Gazette, which is an incredible publication. She was also on 22 News and had other major reviews for her show. And this is because we put together a press kit. She put together a press kit. I feel like all of these artists that I've worked with put together a press kit and they knew what to do. They knew how to angle it and they got these reviews. It was so amazing. So congratulations to you. I'm so truly honored to know you and to work with you. And just big shout out. And then finally, I wanted to mention Paola Scavazzini, who is an artist who I recently got to know, but it was one of those things where, and I just want to show you, like, I really don't gatekeep. I really don't hold out. But Paula found me on Instagram. She found my email, sent me an email saying, "Hey, I just finished this residency and I wanted to invite you to my exhibition." And by the time I got the email, by the time I got to it, I think there was like no time for me to go see the show. But she also included images and a catalog of her work. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And while I was thinking about her, I was also meeting up with a friend of mine who's a gallerist who was looking for something specifically like her work, like specifically like her work. And I just forwarded that email to the gallerist, and that was about a year ago. And now Paula has a two-person show in New York City with that gallerist and just received a New York Times review. So I am so impressed with you. I'm so proud of you. And this is an artist who was like in my sphere, just following me on Instagram, didn't even work with me in my programs, but succeeded with just the vibe, And I think something that's so special about that story is that you never know, as long as your email is professional, even if it's cold email, it could truly lead to some incredible things. And it did for Paula. And so I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And I'm so honored to be part of the story. So shout out to my girls, my babes, my strong women. I know that, we don't want to call women girls all the time, but we can if we want to, if we are also girls. As Cindy Lauper said, girls just want to have fun. And she can say that because she's a girl. Okay. So anyway, let's dive into our Q&A. So we have a 3-part question from Allison. And this question is just so incredible. It actually sums up a lot of what I teach. And Allison completed the Artist Academy a little while ago. And, in the Artist Academy, we really focus on whatever you need to focus on. It's a very comprehensive program. And a lot of artists I work with, they repeat it because they love to do it at different stages in their career. And so first, I want to say, I don't know 100%, but I would say that Allison came into the Artist Academy to refine her positioning and her message and really work on how she's presenting herself. One of the best things you can do for your career is be very clear about your message and your brand. And we're going to get into that. And also the second question that I got from someone else uh, about how that really sets you up for success going forward. Because when you have the clarity of your messaging, you know exactly what your next step is, no matter how your work evolves, right? That's so helpful to know. All right, so let's dive into Allison's first question. What signals do galleries look for that indicate an artist is ready for representation? So, first and foremost, gallery will make sure that you're ready for representation on their end, meaning they want to make sure that they can offer you exactly what you need. And it might not seem like that's the case a lot of the time with all of the rhetoric on the internet, like, oh, galleries, they take 50% and advantage of the artists. No, well, if a gallery wants to represent you, they want to make sure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship, that it's beneficial for you too. And so the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to make sure that they can sell your work, that your work is of interest to their pool of collectors. So a lot of the time they will either take you on for a 2-person show or a group show to see how the work vibes, right? There are some galleries that will give you a solo show right away, but they might not give you representation right away. And for those galleries that give you a solo show right away, I would be very cautious unless they have been around forever. They know exactly what their collectors like. Uh, it's so important that you also make sure that they can sell your work. So, a lot of the time, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to take a few works on consignment. And then they're going to see if that work sells, if their collectors respond to it. And so, if they do, then great, right? Success. They're probably going to go on to work with you further and potentially represent you. That I think, money comes first in these situations a lot. So I would say that is a really big thing to consider. Now, the other thing that they're considering is that you are consistent in your message. There was one, I can't tell you how much I learned from this 5-minute point of my life. When I was in college, I had an assignment to do research on the different gallery neighborhoods in New York City. It was a senior seminar. And one of the gallery neighborhoods I got was Soho. So I went to OK Harris Gallery. OK Harris Gallery is one of or was, it has since closed, was one of the oldest standing galleries in Soho. It was synonymous with Leo Castelli, which was a really big gallery. Leo Castelli put Roy Lichtenstein on the map, Robert Rauschenberg, although Betty Parsons did that too. But anyway, the thing is, this gallery has been around since the 70s and they knew exactly what they were doing. And I was just a kid. I mean, I was literally a senior. I was a senior in college. But at that point, I'd already been working in galleries for about a year. Yeah. So anyway, so I go over there and I'm kind of waiting to chat with someone, like ask them a few questions to see if I could bring a group by for, which is my class, that the rest of my colleagues in school, right? We were going to take each other around. And I watch this interaction. I watched an artist, and this is now like 2005. So I watched this artist walk into the gallery, go straight to the desk in the back and say, "Hey, I would love to show you my work." And the gentleman sitting there, who happened to be Ivan Karp, who is like a legendary art dealer, said, "Sure, why not?" And so he's leafing through the pages of this binder of slides, right? Like the slides back then. And he goes, "Your work is really good, but I need you to be more consistent. I need you to find a style that you like and work in that style." Because ultimately, and this is in that 5-minute, like overheard in New York moment, I learned so much. And then later on in my career working in galleries, I understood why that was so important. I want to impart this to you. It's so important because it's so great for us to see that the work is consistent, meaning that the gallerist always knows what kind of work the artist will deliver and can create a brand for that gallerist's pool of collectors to be interested in. So there's kind of a thin line if you go into the very like conceptual, like MFA by art worlds, they'll say, well, you don't want to make the same painting over and over again, right? And sure, you don't, but you need to be consistent. And so the next way to show a gallery that you're ready for representation is to be consistent in the kind of work you make. You do not need a bunch of paintings. I was actually scrolling on Instagram and I came upon something that said, oh, you need 30 paintings before you can approach a gallery, which is maybe the biggest myth I've ever heard. It is not true. The galleries where I've worked, we would sometimes, as long as the artist had 3 to 5 paintings that were consistent and we could say, hey, make more of these, we could sell the work. So we would go on to work with that artist. And maybe there's something to be said for having 30 paintings before you start working with a gallery. Maybe you need to massage the muscle of painting, right? Or whatever kind of work you're making, whether it's sculpture, photography, drawing. But ultimately, you only really need 3 to 5 works that tell us a consistent story. And that consistent story is ultimately in your elevator pitch. Now, I've spoken about the elevator pitch on this podcast before. It's the elevator pitch formula. It's something that I've coined. I'm so proud I've coined this. Quoted in How to Be a Great Artist, which is a book by Christy Gordon. Just an incredible thing. So, the formula I've derived from working in galleries, studying how artists are being written about in museums. And ultimately, it's just a 3 part formula. And Allison, I know you know it. But for our listeners, I just want to reiterate that it is why you do what you do or what you're interested, how your perspective informs your work. And then finally, the last part is what you do. Right? Now, a lot of the time you will start with what you do. I'm an abstract painter. I'm a realist painter. I paint landscape. Or I was going to say I paint lamps. I don't know. And so when you say that, whoever you're talking to is going to think about the very last abstract artist or representational or landscape artist that they saw. And so they're not going to remember you or your work. And what's really critical is to tell them what you're interested in or why you do what you do first and how your perspective informs your work. So sometimes it's very obvious, it's the topic is one way or the other around feminism and you're a woman. But sometimes it's not obvious and it's important to tell us. So instead of saying, I'm a realist painter, you can then say, I'm really interested in human anatomy. As a matter of fact, I studied it at the graduate level. And just before taking my final medical school exam, I decided that my true passion is human anatomy. So now I paint the nude figure. Uh, I know. Amazing. Suddenly you're an expert. And so that's one that I just remember that is easy to give an example of, but it doesn't have to be that profound. The point is that whatever it is, when you share this elevator pitch, it makes you and your work super unique because of your perspective. And it helps the gallery contextualize your work to sell it. Right? So that is another thing. I think it would be helpful for a gallery to know this angle before they go on to represent you. And so the consistency in your work is one. The consistency in your message is optional, but a second one, it's very helpful. But most important, the fact that they think they have collectors for your work, right? So they will take some work on consignment first. Now, the second part of this question is really interesting. It's what makes a gallery confident that they can sell an artist's work? Well, first, they're going to take some on consignment, but before they do, before they even consider it, they're going to know a little bit more about their pool of collectors. Now, this is in the course that I teach in the Artist Academy. This is part of the course. I also have a bonus course that is attached to many of my programs. I think it's absolutely crucial. It's called How to Know Which Galleries Are Right for You. Because when you know which galleries are right for you, then you can have a very good match, right? And then actually answers this question. So many galleries, they have a pool of collectors that they know already. The only real exception to this is if a gallery is literally just starting out cold, they have no idea who their collectors are, right? But many galleries, they already know generally who their collectors are. And when they know who their collectors are, they know that they're after certain things. Now, their collectors might be after certain formal characteristics of the work. So, for example, they like very clean lines, they like abstract, they like minimal, or they like representational work, figurative, loose brushstroke, right? It's one, not I, I like to frame it as it's one or the other, but a lot of the time you'll see that 70% of the work that a gallery is showing shares some of these characteristics. And that's how you know you're like, wait a minute, my work fits into this, even though the subject matter is different, or maybe the subject matter is all the same. Because remember, there are galleries that are niche galleries too. And maybe they only show paintings of cars, right? Or maybe they only show realism and there's a variations in realism that their collectors are interested in. Or maybe there are variations in realism and they are missing one from the roster and you've got it, right? So, for example, in realism, like very tight realism, if there are galleries out there and you're painting interiors, there's very few artists who do interiors compared to cityscapes, landscapes, florals, all of that stuff. So, when a gallery sees that you are doing interiors and your formal characteristics of the work are um, up to par, but also in line with whatever else they're showing, right? Like, so the line is tight. Maybe it's you're painting from life or from photographs, whatever it is, right? And they know their collectors are going to be interested in it. They're going to go for it. Now, the best thing you can do is when you're thinking about galleries, go and look at their roster of artists and think about what characteristics of yours are also present in that work. Now, the big exception is you don't want to approach a gallery that has an artist whose work is visually very similar to yours, and that artist might be the only one there. If every artist is like that, then yes, it's probably a match. But if it's just one other artist who's visually very similar to you, and that's the only artist that they're showing, it probably is not a great fit because you'd be competing for collectors there, right? But ultimately, the gallery needs to have something for their collector base. So really think about what is it that their collectors are interested in. Really good galleries think about this too. Galleries who are just starting out might be all over the place, and that might be good because they might give you an opportunity. It might not be good because maybe their collectors won't be interested in your work and they might not know that. But the best thing that you can do is check it out to like send your work on consignment to see if it works, right? If you're selling, because if you're selling, then that's good. But I want to make sure that you also know to not reject yourself. This is a huge one. And I see this so much with artists that I work with. They might say, I'm not ready for a gallery. I don't have enough work, or this gallery definitely won't like me. And that you don't know 100%. Right? There's always an exception to the rule, and it's so important not to reject yourself. So let's go to the final part of this question, which is what motivates collectors to buy emerging artists? Now, in my course, I have in the Artist Academy, Allison, you have access to this. You can go into module, I think it's like module 6, all about your ideal patron or something like that. And so I talk about the 3 types of collectors, right? There's 3 types. And then there's like subsets. But the 3 types of collectors are the collector who's interested in investing, and that's how they're buying work. So they're just an investor, right? Then there's the collector that's interested in the actual artwork, right? Who loves the work and just wants to look at it all the time. And then there's the third type of collector, which is a little bit of both. It's a hybrid of both. And what's really interesting is that as the art world grows, as time goes on, as we evolve, as more and more work is out there on the internet, right? Which is actually really good because I want to say, like, if you see that there's a lot of art out there, that means there's also a lot of demand out there. There's billions of people in this world, and not all of them are artists. And for each person in this world, we would hope that there's at least four walls that need art, right? Think of it that way. For most people. Unfortunately, it's not everyone. So, anyway, so as the world grows, collectors are looking for different things. And all three of those types of collector are interested in emerging artists for different reasons. Obviously, the easiest one is the collector who just likes the art for what it is. They are either visually drawn to it for its formal characteristics or they're emotionally drawn to it. So they're drawn to the story behind the work. This is where the elevator pitch is so helpful. So it's so great to just create a reel every now and then on social media, introducing yourself using your elevator pitch, right? Because that can help you connect to people who emotionally resonate with your work, right? To that type of collector. And then there's the collector who's an investor only, right? So something that would motivate them to buy the work is the attention that it's receiving, either from institutions or from the press, which is also, I guess, an institution, or from other artists. So they're hearing that this artist is going to be big. Maybe they had a residency somewhere, maybe they got a review somewhere, maybe they're going to be in a museum show. All of this gives confidence to that collector who is interested in being an investor in the artwork. And now, then the final type of collector is the one that's a bit of a hybrid, and they're going to look for both of those characteristics in the work. Now, I don't know how many of each type of collector are out there. In my experience, and I've sold back in my gallery days where I worked in galleries for quite some time, I've sold definitely over $1 million worth of art. And we get equal kind of amount of each of those. Actually, the one that I got the least was the collector that was interested only in investment. And I wish I could tell you why, but that's the one that I got the least. But I got the ones that were interested in the artwork and the ones that were interested in the artwork and investing a little bit, right? But oh my gosh, the investor only type of collectors, I was once dining with a very successful artist. I wish I could tell you who it was, but I can't. And we were talking about one of these acquisitions, and the artist literally said to me, I have to go to the studio and meet this collector, and I know this collector is going to buy something for a lot of money, like $70,000 or whatever. But I wish I didn't have to sell it to this person, but it's going to be good for my gallery. And I know that this person is going to ask me which one I think they should have, which one is my favorite, because they're interested in investing only, and they're never going to even show the work. It's going to be sitting in a warehouse. And wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a story. So, what a conundrum. And sometimes it happens and it might be good for your gallery, it might be good for you. And it's not the end of the world if you're selling work for an investor. Yes, you know, it won't be shown as much, but it might be shown on a very big stage if that investing collector has a museum show, and it will only be one of the artworks that you make because you're going to be making so many amazing, amazing artworks. All right. So that is, in a nutshell, as much as I could answer of this question. I know it was quite a big question, quite a big answer. I could even stop the podcast here, but I'm going to keep going and answer the second question from Maria Isabel. Maria Isabel is an artist who I've also had the pleasure of working with. I guess my girls are just like responding to my emails. So thank you. Okay. So, and if we haven't worked together, keep an eye out in your inbox for these emails. I could answer your question. Okay. So, her question is, and also big shout out to you. Lydia Isabel went through an incredible health journey in the past couple of years. So I'm so impressed. I love to see everything you're posting in your stories. And I'm so, so happy that you're doing well. And I'm going to like knock on wood for you. Okay. So here we go. When an artist starts creating a body of work that's totally different from what they are known for, what's the best way to introduce and transition the collectors and public to it? Like, what do you do in social media with galleries? Do you put together a solo show? So, first and foremost, congratulations. You're evolving as an artist. This is really great. And we want to go back to your elevator pitch, which I've already spoken about. But in the elevator pitch, remember there's three elements. And this is the reason that when I work with artists, I always set you up with your elevator pitch first, because one of those elements is going to evolve more often than the other ones, right? And so one of those elements is what you do. So that obviously has evolved here, what you do. But something that is still theoretically the same is what you're interested in, why you do what you do, and also how your perspective informs your work, right? So if you start with that first part of the elevator pitch and say, well, now I'm working on this new series, that connects it, that really contextualizes it, that connects it, that makes us understand, hey, it's a new series and the artist is still the artist. You may also evolve the perspective thing. I know you've had a lot of growth with this health journey that you just had. So maybe that has something to do with it. And if that is the case, then you would say something like, you would add that to the perspective portion of your elevator pitch, right? So say like, hey, this new series is inspired by my recent health journey, right? This is huge, right? Because it shows that your perspective has evolved. And as long as you own it and connect to your previous work in the rhetoric, in the story, then you can debut it any which way. First thing I would do is I would debut it. A lot of people wait. They're like, oh, what if maybe I should wait to debut it because I should show with a gallery first. How will a gallery even know that you have the work if you don't show it? I mean, just tell me. Maybe I'm obtuse here. I don't know. But what I would do is I would say that maybe you have, let's say, 3 paintings you can debut from this series or 5 paintings. You don't have to debut all of them, but you can show 3 to 5 of them. You can start to show one per post on social media. You can create a page on your website for that new series. And if it's the new thing that you want to do and the earlier work is no longer of interest to you, you could just create another page for earlier work and organize it either by earlier work series. So we can click on the series and go there, or you just have a page of earlier work. You can move it to a different place on your website. You can move it on the bottom of your About page. You can have another tab on your navigation that says earlier work. And then the first tab that you have is new work or new paintings or new sculptures or whatever it is. And so you debut your new series this way, right? You put it on your website. You have the title of the series, maybe you have 2 or 3 sentences about it, and then you have thumbnails of the work, right? That we see, that we can click on one thumbnail and get a page where it's only that work. And we see it big, we see different views of it, things like that. That would be really great. And you might already have an email list. So before you even debut the website or anything online, you can email your email list and say, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm unveiling this new series, and start sending them one email maybe every few days where you speak about this new series, right? Talk about it, being like, hey, like I was inspired by this. My perspective changed. So my work is evolving and I can't wait for you to see it. And so that you can remind them every few days, maybe 2 weeks before you debut it on social media and on your website, that this is going on. And then because you've debuted it, that it's a very much a big part of your brand, and you've tied it together to your brand, right? With your elevator pitch. That's when you can start to really soft approach galleries, and approach galleries that do accept submissions, but you can soft approach galleries that don't, by engaging with them on social media, by and seeing if there's reciprocity. If there is, then you take another step, and you know what that is. You've worked with me before, but that we'll go into that in another episode. So anyway, those are my answers. I'm so impressed with everyone in my community. So proud of you all. I can't wait to see this new body of work, and I can't wait to hear what transpires with you all. So keep me posted. You know where to find me on social media. It's the Artist Advisory, and I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Feel welcome to share this with a friend or anyone who you feel would benefit from this episode. Remember, a rising tide raises all ships, and this podcast is here to raise your vibration.